Alright Bonehawks, this video is all about Liu Kang. Today we're going to go over his entire moveset and kind of what our options are against him, where we can take advantage, where we have to kind of hold things. This character is fantastic, so you really need to know the matchup if you want to beat him. So that being said, let's get into it.
Accept your death.
So starting with his normals, there's a couple outliers. For the most part, his regular attacks are just kind of to lead into other things. But the first one is his back two, which is a very long-reaching mid, and very staggerable as well. I believe it is -4. Leads into a string, which we'll talk about later, but this move just on its own covers a lot of space. Of course, being a mid, that's good, and leading into combos and all that kind of jazz. So the next one, which is one of his most important strings, is Liu Kang player. This is forward 4. This returns from the last 2 games. He had a string like this. This is a little less obnoxious, but still pretty gross. So this will break your armor on wake up, as long as it's timed correctly. There may be a couple exceptions, but for the most part, most of the cast has to kind of just respect this option on block. Yeah, it's really good. It's multi-hitting, leads into another string that we'll talk about later. We're just talking about normals to get started here. And then lastly, his sweep is +1 on block. Why? Because he's Liu Kang. Liu Kang is always strong in every game. I don't necessarily think he's top 5 in this game, which is maybe a bit of a hot take, but it's the first time in the last probably 3 MK games, that he hasn't been in the top 5, so I thought that was quite interesting. So getting into his combo strings, we'll start with his basic one. So he has this 1-2, which goes into this 1-2-1, -6 on the full string, staggerable at 0 at this point. And if you want, there is an armor gap for the last hit, so you can kind of armor through that if you want, but the last hit of this is -4 anyways. Sorry, -6 anyways, and the stagger is 0, so if you just try and armor through and he blocks, it's a full combo punish for him, unless you're Kung Lao and you have safe armor. But yeah, so you want to be careful with like armoring through this gap. I would only recommend it if you see your opponent using it a lot, which would be weird, but it's a good string, don't get me wrong. There's other things he can do. Moving into forward 1-4, a high into a low. Pretty quick too. So this is an interesting punish. It's a little stubby though, so he doesn't have that much range on it. It's kind of a funny animation, just kind of flicks his wrist. And this is safe at -3, so far everything that Liu Kang has done against us is safe. So in those instances, it's important to try and take your turn back, whether that's doing a poke or whether you're seeing he's doing this and just blocking because he knows he's safe. That's when you can kind of start to go with something slower, like maybe a solid mid attack or something that maybe leads into some plus frames. But yeah, if you see he's doing this and then mashing, it's down 1 afterwards. Down 1, of course, is also -9, so you could just wait, block the down 1, and then punish the down 1 with your own, and then take your turn back that way. So I find a lot of Liu Kangs like to do their strings poke, especially things like that. This -6. -6 really isn't something you should be doing to a poke too much, because that's like 12 frames, which is a pretty big gap for you to be kind of in vulnerable in. So yeah, careful of that. 2-2-1 is one of his better pressure strings. So 2-2 is +3 on block, so you do have to be careful of that. Fail into his down 1. And the full string itself is -4, so he's giving up his turn, so he finishes it. But he's plus, he staggers it. And it's very quick off of a 10-frame startup, so be aware that if he's hitting you with this into this, it's plus, but this into this is a little bit riskier because that's 12 frames, so there's like an 8-frame gap where you can do something in there. So that's an option if you see him doing this. But again, it depends on the player, and unfortunately, Liu Kang just has so many options. Like, there's so many different things he can do off of this. It's crazy. So back 2-3, so this is a launcher, right? So this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier with kind of long-reaching mid. Gets into kind of a launch attack. Do this a couple times. I don't know what the Liu Kang B&Bs are. Something like that, I imagine. Now, you have to be careful about using this too much because, as a Liu Kang player, because the second hit is a high. So if I set myself to rocket here, boom, oh, oh, duck into full combo punish. Yeah, that's rocket damage right there, right? So yeah, just, you see a Liu Kang trying to do that against it, don't let them get away with it for too long, but again, the first hit is quite staggerable, so they can just kind of stop it there if they want to. And if you just block the high, it's -6, so you can steal your turn back if you're worried about them canceling into something else. The Liu Kang's overhead option, standing 3-2, surprising absolutely no one at this point, is +2 on block. Wow, what a concept. The reprieve for this is that it kind of has some pushback, like there's not too much you can take advantage of here with like a 6-frame standing one is too short. Might be able to get it down 3. Yeah, down 3. That would make it 6 frames. I would familiarize yourself with this little kick animation here, because that's really the only time you can use it is to go into overhead. Because this next string that we're going to talk about, 3-3-3, that doesn't really do much for him. I guess it's a stagger. There's -7 stagger, isn't the greatest. But I don't see too many Liu Kangs using this on block, given the other options that he has. But yeah, for the most part, if I see this little kick, I kind of know that this overhead's coming. In the corner, you'll see that the pushback doesn't matter. Like, he's right in our face, and this is where it's kind of scary. To go into some of his other things that might be a little bit more impressive than, you know, dash in or forward 4, that kind of a thing. So just be wary of that. That being said, there's not really a mix-up here. So if he is feeling like really penisy, he could do something like that, which is -17 right in your face. But I don't think they're going to do that unless they're going on some big brain monster read. So just so you know, overhead's probably always going to be the option there. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the best strings in the game. This is forward 4-3-4, which is forward 4, again, the multi-hitting armor move, safe on block, forward 4-3, safe on block, forward 4-3-4, so it's all -4. So, -3 on the first one, sorry, my bad. So yeah, giving up his turn. So make sure to try and take it back, but this is kind of hard to see when he's going to stagger it, you know? But if he keeps staggering into himself, like this into that again, would be 15 frames, which is a lot of time for you to get something in, like a poke or something. And then again, if he's doing this into down 1, he's giving up his turn again at -9, so there's something in an option for you to do as well. You just kind of have to read what the particular Liu Kang player is doing, and then kind of adapt accordingly. Unfortunately, a good Liu Kang player is not going to be that predictable and just going to be mixing things up. Boom. Dash sweep. Dash down 3. Boom. 2. This is where things get scary. It's like, where do I press a button? There's so much happening. And again, like in previous strings, there is a gap on the last hit. Whoops. You can armor through. Again, I would be careful with this, because if he just staggers the forward 4-3, it's -4, and you've just armored right into his face. Unless you're Kung Lao and you just don't care, then yeah, that's just, it is an option. Again, if you see the Liu Kang player doing that move, finishing the string a lot, sure, maybe go for that. But just be wary that that is a risk that you're taking. However, there is another option to counter this string, which hasn't really been explored yet in this video with Liu Kang, and that's to flawless block the last hit of it. Makes it from -4 to -14, which is a full combo punish. So that's a lot safer than wasting a bar meter and throwing out some armor move, hoping that it'll hit. There we go, we flawless blocked it, made it -14, and then we punished it. Right in our face! I don't usually cover the throws. Usually I just kind of silently like go past them, because there's not really much to say. But in Liu Kang's deal, there is actually a little bit more that I want to mention. You've probably experienced this online, but if he's using the Kung Lao assist, you can actually get a combo from this throw. The max damage that I've seen from this combo is about 270 damage. So I would be hesitant to break this right away, because that's kind of where the damage, you know, crops out. Unless it's going to kill you, or you're really close in life or something like that, I would really consider whether you want to use a breaker on this move, just given the amount of damage that it does, the resources that it takes. But you can also kind of use this to your advantage to kind of read throws, depending on Liu Kang's cameo meter, how much he has, depending on where you are on the screen, you might want to use it. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I usually find that I just generically tech back throws against Liu Kang, and either it just forces him into a forward throw situation, which I take 120 damage as opposed to 270 every time. At some point that becomes a bit of a detriment if they just keep forward throwing you over and over again, but I mean, that's fighting games, sometimes you just gotta guess. Alright, so moving on to his special moves now, we have his Cosmic Flame, which is a high attack, just a standard projectile, there's nothing too crazy about that. His enhanced one turns into a mid, and is also counters other projectiles, so if he kind of reads that you're going to throw a projectile, you can burn that, and that will eat your projectile and then hit you in turn, so be careful with that. In zoning exchanges, he can do these moves in the air, they have a little bit of a different property there, you'll see he does like a multi-projectile thing. In the enhanced version, recovers way quicker, so here's recovery from this one. Recovery from the enhanced one is like almost instant, so assuming this is to kind of give him some interesting air combos, but the Liu Kang mains probably know more about that than I do. Be aware, this doesn't eat projectiles like the ground version does though, by the way. Just be aware, they're just assuming for combos or something like that. Typical low dragon fireball is back, boom boom. Double hitting one, does a little bit more damage for a bar. Personally don't think that's worth it myself. If this is working along on your opponent, maybe. But both slightly different hit advantage on the meter burn one than the regular one, but distance also plays a factor in that as well. I will say there is kind of an interesting little, almost like a trap thing here, because this at full screen is plus 16. That's 18 frame startup, so I mean that's pretty good working in tandem with each other. Depending on like what you're doing and how you're playing this, Liu Kang can be like a pretty aggressive zoner. Like he's counter zoning is good with this. He's got the lows, he's got the airs, he's got the enhanced. So he can be a pretty oppressive zoner. I've seen some stuff. All right, so the Dragon's Tail, regular one is a combo ender, and the enhanced one is a launcher. So we use the regular one to launch, or sorry, the enhanced one to launch and the regular one to end. I don't know why. I see this a lot online, and I guess it's an online-y thing, is Liu Kang's just love to throw this out. Like, I just, all the time, in the middle of their zoning, they'll be zoning, they'll be doing just fine, and all of a sudden just boop, boop, maybe minus 15 right in your face. So make sure that you got a punish ready for this one, because yeah, that is not safe. I don't know why they do that. And the bicycle kick is back in a very nice redesign. I do like the kind of little dancing dragon, as they call it, kind of thing. You won't see too many Liu Kangs just throwing this out like this, though. That being said, this is his armored move. This is his wake-up attack. So if you do read a wake-up from him, punish accordingly. But most armored attacks are unsafe to some extent, so outside of course, elephant in the room, Kung Lao, but still, so you'll see this probably more as combo enders. I honestly don't even see Liu Kang players using this very much at all. Just the odd ones for the wake-up attack here and there, or depending on the cameo they're using. You always got to be aware of the cameo. You can have Striker come out and throw some grenades, and you try and punish, and Striker hits you with the grenades. Things like that you have to be wary of. And his final move is Dragon's Breath. The regular one I really don't see any point using. I've seen some people just kind of, for some reason, they'll throw it out on something like this. Again, minus 15, so be careful. Enhanced one has invulnerability to it, which means like you can't hit him out of it or anything. And from messing around with it with the little bit that I was, this actually works as a pretty good anti-air. Really, really consistent if you're playing against a character like, say, Johnny Cage, who keeps doing his like jump 3, and he just, for whatever reason, you don't want to use up block. You can spend a bar and use this one instead. It's really consistent, but yeah, other than that, it's just kind of interesting with the invulnerability. It has a couple different ranges, whether you want to do the close one or the far one. The range really doesn't seem that different to me, but it's there if you want to use it, so. And of course, as defending, both of them are minus 15 on block. This one you just can't hit him out of during the startup, or this one I suppose you can, so. Be wary of that, but I would just block and punish. I wouldn't bother trying to hit him out of anything. And that's it, Liu Kang's entire moveset, from start to finish, everything that we can do and can't do against him. And this character, again, is really, really good, really, really solid, and really, really safe. So you really have to pick your moments and make sure that you're really, really understand frame data as best you can to challenge Liu Kang. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, because it really helps me out, and subscribe if you haven't, because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks, all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.